You've started that diet more times than you can count, and each time it goes the exact same. Motivation is sky high, and you're psyching yourself up that this is the time that you are going to get that body that you've had in your mind for so long. 3 weeks in, you're starving, you're tired. That sky high motivation is now all the way down here. And worst of all, you don't look any different. Well, my name's Connor, and you are looking at a guy who lived like that for years. But see, I always thought that motivation or discipline or a lack of effort was the issue, when really it was just the fact that my plan was shit. Whereas at the time of recording this video, I am 5 weeks out from a photo shoot where I have so far dropped 9 kilograms in 12 weeks. And today I'm going to be running you through my exact plan from what it looks like in the gym to what it looks like on my plate. So let's get right into it. See, in the past, whenever I used to go into a diet or a fat loss phase, my mindset would always be, to get the best results possible, I'm going to have to eat fuck all, I'm going to have to do a fuck ton of cardio, and essentially just abuse my body to get the result that I want. Basically, I thought to get in shape, my life was going to have to look like a Stairmaster and chicken and rice. My whole approach was the equivalent of getting on a treadmill, go on to the setting where you choose your pace, and instead of finding one which I could actually maintain over a longer period of time, I was just finding, right, what is the maximum speed that I can put this thing to? Right, I'll go on that because that's what's going to be better for me. Hard and fast. And yes, I would see that initial result. I would see the initial drop on the scale. But next to me was another treadmill with another hypothetical version of me. And that version of me just went on and found a pace that he could find comfortable and he could actually stick to. So initially, I did speed up ahead of him because I made the more aggressive approach. My weight dropped quicker. I seen the better results at the start. However, it would always get to a point where I would just fall off every single time. And then my approach would be, I would get up, I would look at this other guy who's made more progress, and my mindset would be, oh my god, I'm way behind where I need to be. I need to go even harder to get to where he is. So every single time I was falling off track, I was going even more aggressive the next time to try and catch up with the progress that I felt that I'd lost. So it would just turn into a cycle of starting, falling off, starting, falling off, because my approach was always harder is better, harder is better, harder is better, more. And it was never going to be the right plan for me. And eventually I would just get to the point where I would walk away because I would be like, what's the fucking point? I've already failed. I'm not going to get to where I want to get to. I may as well just give up. And in a nutshell, that is the cycle that I was in yo-yo dieting for years. But this time it has been very different. So at the start of this diet phase, my beginning macros were around 2,100 on a training day and about 1,900 on a rest day, with a protein target of about 180. For even somebody at that weight starting off, that's still quite an aggressive approach, quite a hard low calorie approach. However, the big difference, and I'll come on to this more, is that I have done barely any cardio. No more than 14 minutes of cardio per week. The big change for me in this phase has been such a bigger importance on pre-workout carbohydrates. Now, if you're not aware, carbohydrates are your body's main source of energy. And when you eat carbohydrates, they get processed and digested in your system as what's called glycogen. You then have glycogen stores in your body. You eat carbohydrates, they get stored as glycogen, which fill up those glycogen stores, which then essentially become like the energy systems for your muscles when you go to train. But in the past, I had always just been so focused on protein, because when you go on social media and you look at fat loss and you look at getting in shape, it's all just protein. You walk in a shop, everything's branded protein this, protein that. You forget about the importance of carbs. And I had done that for years, but not now. Pre-workout, every single session, I've always hit around 120 grams of carbs, and that's usually came in the form of some cereal, some fruit, something like a Squares bar, and then some milk. It doesn't have to be optimal, clean, healthy. There is more clean, healthy foods than cereal, but for me, it's worked really well. I've always aimed to have that pre-workout around 60 to 90 minutes before my workout, so it has enough time to digest, but also enough time to fill up those stores so that I then get the best quality of sessions in, because you want to actually retain and build muscle, not just get tiny. My meal timings have also changed, as in this diet, I've now actually began to push my first meal later in the day and bring my last meal of the day earlier forward. So I don't really eat now before about 9 a.m. and I don't really eat any later than about 6 p.m. compared to what used to be about 6 a.m. and about 8 p.m. What that's meant is that smaller time window, there's essentially less time for me to be hungry, because my body is still processing the food from breakfast when I have lunch. It's still processing and digesting lunch when I get to dinner. So I'm going to bed and I'm not once as hungry as I used to be. My protein, like I said, has never been below 180, and on rest days it's actually went up to 200. And the reason for those 2 days is because when you're in a more aggressive approach, as I have been with my calorie deficit, more protein will protect your muscle more, is the simplest way to look at it. So I've always made sure that my protein is high, and I've always pre-logged my protein protein at the start of the day as well. So before I put anything else in MyFitnessPal, I know that I've got 180 grams ticked off, and then all my remaining calories are what I'll have around those protein in my meals. I have also introduced carb cycling into this dieting phase, and it's worked a treat, essentially just meaning that on my rest days, I reduce my carbohydrates. I don't have zero carbohydrates, but I'll essentially only have carbohydrates in maybe 2 of my 3 meals, and my other meal will just be pure, pretty much protein. Carbohydrates can hold more water weight. 1 gram of carb holds about 3-4 grams of water. So if I'm having a nice drop of carbohydrates on my rest day, it goes in line with the fact that my expenditure, aka how much I'm burning, goes down. So it generally will see a better movement in the scale. I've stuck to pretty much the exact same protein and carbohydrate sources every single week. Oats, cereal, sweet potato, chicken, basa, tuna, and then on a couple occasions per week, I may have a reduced fat steak or reduced fat burger. But I've also eaten exactly the same meals pretty much every single day. I've never really had to think about it. And that right there is the answer to why I have done it. I've not had to think about what am I going to eat. One of the biggest issues that people make is that they get overthinking, they overstress about what am I going to have today, what am I going to have tomorrow. Right, okay, I've woken up now, right, what am I going to have for lunch today, what am I going to have for lunch tomorrow. Imagine just being told, I've prepared your meals for the next few days, your breakfast, lunch and dinner, it's all tracked for you, your goals are all hit, you don't need to think about it. Would you be happier in that situation to hear that? Of course you would. And that's basically what I've done for myself, because now when I go to do my food shop on a Sunday and a Thursday, I already know what I'm going to be eating for my meals, which means that I know exactly what I need to buy in the shops, and then when I bought it from the shops, I don't need to think, right, what am I going to have for lunch, what am I going to have for dinner. It's all there in my fridge, in my freezer, in my cupboard. I just need to make it. I've also had zero, and I mean zero, snacks in and around my house during this whole dieting phase. I know people might be a bit like, oh my god, that's a bit over restrictive. In my opinion, it's not over restrictive, because things like crisps, sweets, chocolate, biscuits, what purpose are they serving me? Usually when I'm bored, if I can make sure that I just don't have them in there, it forces me to actually deal with the fact that, okay, I'm a bit hungry. It is okay to be a bit hungry in a dieting phase. I'm going to come on to that more in a minute, but there's a big difference between a bit of hunger and just pure starvation. And the result has meant that my hunger, of course it has been there. It is a dieting phase. However, it's been very manageable, and it's only began to get a little bit harder in the last couple of weeks, which is okay because I'm in what I would call the home stretch. I'm in the last 5 to 6 weeks. And because of the results that I've seen now over the first 9 weeks, it's easier to stick to it now. This level of hunger that I've got today would have been much harder to deal with on week 1. That's why you don't go crazily aggressive on week 1. Yeah, you go a bit harder, you want to get the weight coming down, but you don't go so hard that you just deprive your body of all food, of basically just starving your body to a point where, like I said, you just give up after a few weeks. And I've then been able to go a bit lower with my food on some days, on some rest days going as low as 14 to 1500, because I've not been abusing my body with cardio. So into my training, and this has been the lowest that my volume, aka this has been the least that I've trained per week for nearly 3 years. Yet it's the best that my training has ever been. See, previous to this, I spent in the last couple of years doing a more hybrid approach, so running, high rocks, running and lifting. And I've been training as much as 8 times per week at some points over the last 18 months. And now I'm down to 4 sessions per week. Lower, upper, lower, upper. And on top of quality over quantity, I've also actually begun to do 2 sets instead of 3 sets for my main movements, which again has been something different for me, but it's meant that in those 2 sets, I get so much more quality out of them, less of a gap, similar to the time window. Less time, more benefits, more results. My big thing with this prep was that I wanted my upper body and my arms to look the best they ever have. So I'm essentially training arms on 3 different sessions. I've got 2 lower sessions, but on one of those lower sessions, I've also got arms at the end of it. My next thing that I've done better than ever in this prep has been my use of intensifiers in sessions. Intensifiers are essentially just things that you can add into your sessions to get more out of them. They're like an added bonus. So your drop sets, your supersets, your slow eccentrics, your pause rest, all of these different things. I've never had so much of a focus on these in my life, and it's meant that instead of just getting to my last rep of my 8 to 10 rep range and thinking, right, that's job done. It's like, no, what can I get out of it? What more can I do with this set? Can I add in a drop set? Can I maybe drop the weight and start slower going down with the eccentric? And those have been the main things that I've focused on with every single movement in every single session. How can I essentially, like a toothpaste tube when you try to squeeze all of it out, how can I squeeze every last part out of my training session every single time. So it has been training to failure, taking it to a point where I literally can't get another rep. Other small things, like I've stopped scrolling on my phone when I'm in a workout. I don't go on social media at all. I will just walk around the gym in between my sets. Honestly, it makes such a massive difference, because one of the biggest issues that I used to have and that I see clients have is that they will do a set and then they'll just spend 4 minutes on their phone, and then they'll do a set, and then what should be a 50-minute gym session turns into an hour and 45 minutes, and they go, oh, but I don't have any time to go to the gym. Yes, you do. You're just spending way longer than you need to. And then the last thing, even though it's not to do with what I'm doing in the actual gym, I've never put such an importance on my sleep in my life. I do not think I've slept less than 7 hours one night across this whole diet phase, because what people don't realize is it's actually in your sleep where your muscle is actually built. That's what people don't get right. You're obviously training your muscle in the gym, but you're not building muscle in the gym. It's in your sleep. It's in the recovery process. It's with your growth hormones that are helping build muscle, and that happens in your sleep. Better sleep, better muscle recovery, better muscle build, better muscle growth. And scale weight drop has been pretty consistent over the whole 12 weeks. There was a bit of a spike up at about week 4, but that was due to the fact that I went away for a week's holiday to Spain, and my weight went up as expected on that, because I knew that I was still going to be making smart choices when I was there, but naturally I was going to be eating a bit more carbohydrates, I'd be eating out a bit more, I wouldn't be as dialed in with what I was tracking as I usually would, so I was expecting that scale weight to come up. Over the last 3 weeks, as I've went a bit more aggressive, a bit lower calorie, the scale weight drop has went into an average of about 1 kilogram per week. And over the next few weeks before the photo shoot, I'm going to be expecting it to be getting to around 79 to 80, and I'll then have a couple of practice high days, which are essentially days where you give yourself a big boost of carbohydrates to see how my body looks, to see how my body feels, and then on the week of the photo shoot, I'll expect to be sitting at around 81 kilograms. But the big massive thing that I want you to take away from this video today, I've not lost any strength. I'm actually still, as of this week, as of yesterday's session, hitting PBs, and it's because of what I've just spoken about in this video. It's because of the importance of carbohydrates. It's because I've went into this diet phase with, I'm going to push myself hard to get lean, but I am not going to just deprive myself of any food and just abuse myself with cardio. Because number one, my enjoyment for my training has never been higher. I've been genuinely excited to go to the gym for these sessions. Sometimes I've had to say no. Sometimes I've had to go out with my friends who are drinking and eating out and just have my own food, or just say no and wait until I get home. You have to make sacrifices. People like to speak about balance a lot. In my opinion, this is the perfect balance. It's not going so hard where it's hours of cardio, fuck all food and abusing your body, but it's also not easy, soft and kind approach. It's finding the middle ground. This is hard. This is an aggressive deficit. This is getting me in the shape of my life. But because of what I've spoken about through training and nutrition, it has helped me actually stick to it. Now, I hope that you have taken a lot from this video today, and I hope that you can take some of what you've learned from it into your own current diet phase, or a diet phase that you are about to begin. We are currently sitting at the 2nd of June, so if you've not already started your diet phase for summer, then you might want to get on that, and if you have already, then I hope it is going really well. I also have recently made a free nutrition guide, which is covering essentially everything that I have done nutrition wise in this whole diet phase, getting me in this best shape of my life. It is completely free. Link is down below in my description or on my bio. Literally, it will take you 10 seconds to input your email, to input your details, and it will be right in your inbox. As for me though, I'm going to head off and get some breakfast. I'm excited to catch up with these in a few weeks to let you know how the photo shoot result ended. I'll see you in the next video, and you have a fantastic day.